my life is changed. And I fell asleep, and I woke up realizing that I was number one today. It was about 1:10, and there is Jerry calling me. Are you having problems? I said, yeah. And it really wasn't the phone. It was me. It was me. And I am so grateful for the opportunity to even knowing that I am not perfect and I can fall asleep because I am aged. I am 86 and a half plus 2 months. I came into the program 1977, and I was 39 years old with 2 children. One daughter was 16, one daughter was 13. We were coming back from Peru. I was on my second marriage, and my mother said, have I got something good for you? And that was my induction to OA. And it came as we were on the airplane going to Peru. My second husband, my daughters, 5 million passports because they had my maiden name and my marriage name. They had their name. And guess who's on the plane? My former husband. And it was as though the kids are running up and down the aisle to their dad. We're not talking because we almost murdered each other. And there's no conversation with us at all. And we did. We went to Peru. We had a wonderful time. We stayed in the accommodations for everyday people, and he didn't want to be with us, and he was in the up class. The kids had a good time. We went to Machu Picchu, and I think I could have been maybe 268 then, but that's just where everything came to place. When we came back, and I think it took me 3 weeks to go to OA, and I never realized how at home I was. I was in my childhood library for my first meeting, and all these lovely people talking about their ability and their level of food that they ate and what it did to them and what they've been saved from. Well, I knew I was home. I was home like anything else could be a mystery, and thinking I did it, my mother did it, knowing now that God did it. And I went to the meetings. I learned what to do. I went into AWOL. It was the year of Gray Sheet, and I followed that. And the AWOLs is what held me together. I needed the information, how to go from where I was to where I was going to be. And I didn't fool around with the food. I cleaned it up fast. And before that, it took me a year and a half to get into an AWOL that was open and available to me, because I came in during they were closed, and I would do my program Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sundays go to the restaurants that had the buffets. No flour, no sugar, but pretty mountainous meals. And that worked for me for about a year and a half. And I wasn't losing weight anymore. And I cleaned up my act, and I became abstinent a year and a half later, and I maintained it 46 years. I didn't quit. I didn't cheat. I didn't do anything but not have the food that made me 289 pounds to begin with, knowing that I had no recourse. I just didn't go there. I went to meetings and I heard people say, I don't need that food anymore. I had it. I know what it tastes. I had enough for a lifetime. I don't need it anymore. And I melted. And I divorced the second man I didn't remain married to him too. But he was an English professor, and he said, "Go to school, Della, you're smart." And I did. I went to a local college where I live, and I got all A's, and it gave me whatever it is that I didn't think I had in me. And what had happened, I had to write something for an English subject, and I picked food and food, a book on food and addiction, not knowing that the 12 books that I read for that term paper was going to be my antidote when I came into OA. And I lost 12 pounds writing that scene. I did. I got an A+. And I was home safe in OA, and I didn't want anything to bother it, nothing to bother it. I was working full-time with 2 children, and in the 70s, that wasn't fashionable, and I couldn't stand being in the body that I had, and I never wanted to go there again, and I didn't have to. I've maintained my lifestyle, my food plan, ups and downs, ins and outs, and melted, absolutely melted. My kids got married. I got friendly with my second husband, my first husband, and he's my friend now. But that wasn't until the praying for him and accepting teenage kids and accepting the ins and outs of being employed, getting somebody to take care of my kids, taking food to work, sometimes breakfasts and lunches, and nobody did what I did. I was the only one in the family. When I came home, the kids' leftovers were on the table. When they woke up, they wanted to know where it was. I did that for weeks. I couldn't deal with the food from the meetings on the table. I took a green trash bag, took out the silverware, and threw it out. I didn't have that to think of. Somebody told me what to do. And I think that was the best thing in the program. Somebody told me what to do. And I listened. And I'm not that kind of a personality. Don't tell me anything. I know everything. I'm God. Well, that changed, but it changed slowly. I went to a meeting in Harvard Square, and I see a girl, a woman, that when I was thin, she went to my diet doctor. When she was thin, I went to her diet doctor, and I found out her secret. So that made my program almost like instant glow. And she was speaking to a lady, and when she wasn't looking, I walked over to that lady, and I asked her to be my sponsor. And for 12 years, she nurtured me. Now, it wasn't her sponsor. It was just a woman she was talking to. And I learned so many things in that Garden Street meeting in Cambridge Square. And this man, God bless his soul, I know he's not alive today. He would put his left hand on his head, and he said, "Your head is your higher power. Now put your hand on your head. That was the food. That was your higher power. Now put your right hand on top of your head, which is the food and your higher power. You've got a new higher power, your head." And that's what I did with not eating one day at a time. My higher power was my hand until it became God, until it became the calling of what I could do, what I couldn't do, what I was willing to do. And I found the mystery of the program, that if I don't eat, I could deal with life. If I wanted to eat, I would have to be in pain all over again and go through withdrawal. And I don't know if I heard these things or if I said these things. It was either the pain of the food or the pain of not eating. And then I heard a poem from AA, Don't Quit. And I had those little suckers all over my house. in my pockets, in my pocketbook, where I worked, on the mirrors, on top of the refrigerator, in the refrigerator. And it helped me. I had so many things happen to me. I wrote down a few of the things. I was on amphetamines, and they kept me to about 145 pounds. I was 5'6" at the time. This is the origin of my program. And when I divorced my former husband, I gained weight. I was not in program, and I grew to 289. And I would have been 1,000 pounds for sure. And that's when OA came into my life. I stopped going to the restaurants that I had these buffets. I came into OA, don't laugh. These restaurants stopped operation. They stopped. One was the August, I can't even think of the names. I would go to these places, let's see if I can think of it. There were 3 restaurants, and I didn't go to them. And they closed. They went bankrupt. I had a job waiting for me. A job was waiting for me for 3 months because I worked with lawyers, knowing that if my first husband knew I was going to get employed, I would get less divorce money. So they waited for me. And that weekend, somebody called me from a job where I had worked, and would I interview with them? I said, you're going to have to let me know today, Saturday. I'm starting a new job Monday. And they hired me, and I had to call the new job Monday. I wasn't coming in. And what option I did have? I was there 25 years. I raised my children from there. I had marriages from there. I had grandchildren from there. But in the meantime, my former husband, number one, he had discretionary money, and he went traveling. And I said, guess what? If he can do it, I can do it. And after that, I went traveling all over the world. I celebrated my 50th birthday on the China Wall. I went to Russia. I took the kids to Peru. We've gone on cruises. I took them to Paris. And we had a ball. And I had no problem with the food. There was no rerun for this disease in my system. Whatever I had to give up was worth giving up for the solution and living with no food. I got used to it. And then the head and the body and the AWOLs and the sponsoring and the sponsors and the fellowship gave me something that I never had. It gave me the ability to understand what the disease took away from me. The rotten food. The rotten food closed my heart. I'm going to cry. My soul, my mind, and everything started to flourish as these agents reduced themselves to non-existence. I had a heart, I had a soul, I had a mind. And at this point, I didn't have to go traveling. I had grandchildren. And nobody in the family followed me. I didn't push it. They saw how I melted. I even had to gain weight. I just automatically melted into 97 pounds. I didn't want that. That was not where I was planning to go. It was the addiction is, I call this disease the original sin. And people in the program, I could remember one of the meetings at St. Paul's in Malden, Massachusetts. It was a church. The bottom was the OA, and the middle floor was AA. And in the intermission, they would smoke, they would have coffee, and they would intermingle. And they adopted me, and they made sure that I wouldn't have anything to do with the food to destroy me. They took me to their meetings. They took me to their anniversaries. they were in Bible study. I'm born Jewish. They're already sober and clean for about 15 years. I understood that when they went to the anniversaries in AA, I couldn't take the food. When they took me to the potluck suppers, I couldn't take the food. I made OA my church, and it worked. And I just stayed in the meetings. I have 2 cats that wake up at 6 to be fed. I go to the 7 o'clock meetings, all these 90-day meetings. I have people in my life. I have a sponsor now. I must have had her 36 years, and she was sick, and I got scared. I couldn't imagine how I could live without her, and I don't have to. She's mending, and there's still foods that I wouldn't eat in a heartbeat. Chinese food was my choice of poison, and I live around the corner from the restaurant that I used to pay like you would pay a mortgage, and I know what the food did to me. I know what the food is capable of. I still have a residue, and that residue is helped with speaking about people asking people for help, not picking up the food. I had to have potatoes so I can gain weight, and I shrunk to 5'1", and I think I'm 103. And for my little frame, and I used to be 5'6", and it's Suffolk, 145 pounds, not more. I use OA and the 12 steps for a senior citizen with issues that a senior citizen has. I'm going to a party tomorrow, a reunion. It's a Chelsea boy made good, and every year he makes a party for the city, for everybody who is in the Chelsea school system. And I didn't know if I wanted to go, if I didn't want to go. And I'm going. Somebody from OA is going to take me. I called up for the food that we can eat, that we can't eat, that's going to be at the buffet. And I want to say who's alive as I am. They probably won't even recognize me, not just because of the body, but because of what aging does to you. And I'm going in a wheelchair so I can be pushed. And this is a lady from OA who is helping me do that. I have things this morning. I prepared vegetables so that I would have for the week. I chop and do a lot of things. One of the best things I had in my life is I saw my granddaughter born. She's going to be 26 years old. And if you ask me what was a highlight in my life, not watching my daughter give birth to my granddaughter, but my relationship in Overeaters Anonymous and the outcome of it, and the willingness and the pain of growing and changing and living and loving and keeping my mouth shut. I was with my former husband, and I'm with him every Friday. My daughters were not going to make separate parties for him or for me, and we found some kind of semblance of sanity together. And he was saying something that I could really kick him, where. And I said, Della, shut up. Don't say a word. Don't say a word. And I didn't. I didn't get even with him. I didn't, there's a lot of feelings that don't go away, but I don't have to make them worse by adding my 2 cents. I'm alive.
1 minute.
I'm slim. And my name is Della, and I live in Malden, and I am the happiest camper on the street. I have help from my children, from my neighbors, from God, from the program, and the ability to wake up sane, civil, whatever pain that being an old lady is livable, as long as I don't have to live through the food. I love books. I joke, I don't go to the bakery, I go to the library, and I'm sending somebody a thank you card. Dear friend, roses are red, violets are blue. Thank you for Amazon, my book you sent, your time spent, and the check finally sent. Let's see. To me, happiness is a book, new, used, and possessed. And that's my, and thank you. My name is Della.